All right, so today we're going to continue with our structures training. Thank you, everybody at Flow Design Architects, for doing this. It will set you apart and it will make you succeed and thrive. That's my hope. So that's it. We've modeled this skeleton of this structure, and we're going to do something very typical here at Flow Design, which is doing additions to homes, right? So in this case, we're going to do an addition to this house right here on this side. And that addition to this house will be a deck. And then that deck, we're going to do something that we always see clients do, which is convert that deck into an enclosed space. And then after we convert it into an enclosed space, we're going to try to do an addition adjacent to that enclosed space. Okay. So it's a lot of ground to cover. So I will do my best to do it quick and explain it as I do it. So it's a little bit of a challenge, but I'm going to get it done. All right. So that's it. All right. So let's say the clients right now want to, they have this floor right here. They want to do a sliding door right here, and they want to do a deck into the outside. How are the decks typically done? So the decks, the way that they do it, you already have your, we're gonna, you know what? I'm gonna show all the elements so that we see it. So, and I'm gonna hide this siding, this piece. So we have our zip system right here, which you see, and then on top of the zip system, we even have the siding, right? We have our siding, and I'm gonna do the siding as another kind of material. And I'm going to change the color of it so that we don't get it confused. So one is the zip system. Another one is the siding. So I'm going to change the color of this guy so that we know that this guy is going to be the siding. I'm going to put a little gray. All right. Oh, it's changing the color of both of them. I don't want to change the color of both of them. So let's just all right. So that's your siding right here. You know what? To make it more realistic, I'm gonna actually try to give it a texture so that you guys can think of it as siding. Contour. And we're gonna say 6 inches. Oh, yeah, that doesn't help it. That's not how I meant to do it. Contour here. All right, I'm gonna group that. All right, so that's your siding right there. So now the owner's like, oh, you know what? I want to do a home addition right here and make a deck out of it. So what they do typically is that they will need to figure out two things. Do they want the deck to be flushed with the rest of the house? Do they want it to step down? Do they want it to step up? So those are the decisions. Oftentimes, the decks actually step down. So what they do is that they create something called a ledger. And if they want it to step down, they go down right here like that. And the minimum step that we want to have is 4 inches. So if you do some distance right here from this member to this member, it's about 3.5 inches. So it will end up being 4 inches. And I'm using the same member right now. So they do this ledger right here. Literally, it's called a ledger or a nailer. Okay, nailer or ledger. And that guy is going to get bolted into the structure. It's going to literally go into these band joists and inside. And they also try to connect it with the joist. So that's literally tied into the rest of the space. So to make that a little bit more clear, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to pull up a ledger framing. So this is it. Literally, they connect that. They sometimes connect it to the concrete as well. You see it right here connected to the concrete. They do. So this guy is always going to be pressure treated. This condition is exactly what I'm about to model right now. Literally what I'm about to model. Okay. So they come in here. Excellent. And then they say, you know what? That guy is going to connect directly into my structure, tied right into my structure. And then I'm gonna have my deck come out whichever distance. For the purpose of this exercise, I'm gonna use a distance that's typical. Like I see a lot of 10 by 10 decks or 12 by 12 decks. So this is 6. So I'm gonna go -6 more, and that's gonna make it 12. The reason why they use those dimensions is because lumber comes in sizes like that, like, easier to cut like that, like 12 feet, 10 feet, 8 feet, things like that. So they get lumber like that, and it's the lumber that kind of fits in a truck, on a regular truck. So once they bolt this guy right through, and I'm not gonna model the bolts right now because I don't want to get that detailed, they also I don't know that. They also put their joists like this, okay? And in this case, for the purpose of this exercise, I'll show you what that looks like, and I'm gonna make sure that these guys, I'm just gonna pick the points. Okay. So these guys right here get nailed together, and often what we do here at Flow is that we put multiple ones of them to make it a little more sturdy. And we do that the same thing with this guy to make it a little more solid, okay? But the rest don't need to be like that. We come in here, and from the center, if I find the center line, we go 16 inches on center. So we're just gonna go 16 inches on center that way. Okay, so we're gonna just copy that guy a bunch of times at 16 inches on center. Likely not all of them are at 16 inches on center, but that's fine. You guys get the idea. And we want this final one to be a little bit more beefy. All right, so that creates a frame for your deck. And what they typically do is that then they also come in here and use some sort of 4x4 or 6x6 or 8x8 post in one direction. Okay, as much as needed to get away from the ground. And this guy is gonna certainly match. By the way, all of these guys need to be what? What kind of material? I guess the color here says it.
They're touching the floor.
Yeah, they're outside.
They need to be waterproof. I forgot the name.
Pressure treated.
Pressure treated. Sorry. Yes.
All of these guys need to be pressure treated. Okay, so we're gonna make sure that all of these guys are pressure treated. We want to match that. Should be easy to match. Where's match? Okay, right here. All of them need to be pressure treated, which is the issue I'm gonna tell you later more in detail about this. So all of these guys need to be pressure treated, including this guy right here, because they all touch the elements outside. Okay, just so you know, I'm modeling this way, but the first thing that happens is that they actually need to make a hole in the ground and dig down about 4 feet, the frost location. And this sits on those holes that we call sonotubes that are typically, you just find the center of this guy. And I'm gonna cap it and cap it. And then I'm gonna create a circle. I'm gonna find the center if I can. Center. Okay. And those guys in the diameter are about 12 inches oftentimes. And they go down they go down typically 6 inches, because you guys know that all wood has to be at least 6 inches away from the ground, right? Like we don't want any contact with that. So these guys likely are gonna be 6 inches anyway, but then they're also gonna be, after that, 4 foot more or so. And that's your sonotube right there. Okay. Center line. You can investigate this a little bit more with more detail. I'm explaining you the general idea of the concept. But these guys are made out of concrete. And I'm just gonna use a nice dark gray or something. Okay, so these guys are like here, right? So that's kind of what's happening with the project that Felipito was showing, that they have something like this. These guys go down, and the condition that I showed you earlier is this idea right here, of the ledger. We already have that, great. But the sonotube deck, they typically have a little bit more thicknesses at the bottom. Okay, so those guys are thickened like that. So the one I showed you, the way I showed it to you, it's not correct. This is more correct. Okay, but this is the idea. Okay, so they have thickened foods at the bottom. We call them big foods and things like that. So, but this is the concept. This is what I'm trying to show you. Okay. So these guys right here at the bottom tend to be a little bit thicker. So you know what? What I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna create a new one, and I'm gonna go down. You know what? I'm gonna just go down with this one and make it thinner and thicker, just to illustrate the concept. Okay. It's not meant to be perfect, but these guys are a little bit thicker, just like footings on any other project. Okay. All right. So that we have that in there. Great. This thing could be joined in multiple different ways. I put them like that, but oftentimes some contractors like to literally cut a void in here and cut a void and sit this post inside the framing. There's different ways of doing this. I don't want to tell them exactly how to do it. I'm just showing you the concept. So that's that. Then we get, after these, we get our decking material. Okay. And our decking material typically I don't know, let's say minus half an inch. I did minus, so it went down, but I'm gonna move it up right now. Okay, so our decking material goes on top of this. That's where they put their decking. Always in the opposite direction of the framing. So that they can nail to them. Okay, otherwise they will fall through. Does that make sense? Do you guys get it? They crisscross, because if they didn't, it will go right through. It will fall. The floor will fall. Doesn't make sense? Okay. I'm assuming you guys understand what I'm saying. This is generally how you do your deck, right? That's your deck. All good and dandy. This is beautiful. Okay. So, and in this particular case, what they ended up doing was that, well, they have probably a deck. They like their deck, and they're like, you know what? I'm going to put a roof on it. And I'm going to enclose the life out of that. So they came here, either replace this decking, or This is not the right way to do these, guys. Okay, I'm just telling you what you end up with when you work on a lot of projects over time. So this is not the right way to do it. But likely what they ended up doing was that they came here and put some flooring right on top of this. Right on top of that decking, which is not to be done like that, okay? And then they grab the bottom plate. Okay. And very likely, they put the bottom plate all around it. Put another bottom plate on the other direction. And frame the life out of this thing with their plates. And then closed it. So then they came and grabbed their studs. Has any of you gone to a house where they have a porch that has siding inside the porch instead of gypsum wall board? Anybody?
As a ceiling or where?
No, they have siding on the walls inside the porch. The porch is enclosed, but they have siding.
I seen it just like one wall, the one that's touching the house.
Exactly. So just like I'm doing right now, this wall right here has siding. That tells you right there that that space was never meant to be finished. That they finished it afterwards, like I'm doing right now. All right, so
Like it was exterior condition and
it
then
was an exterior
the deck.
condition. They added a porch out of it. They enclosed the porch, just like I'm doing right now. They literally just decided one day that it was a really good idea to enclose that space. So they did this. They enclosed it right here. And we're gonna grab our studs, rotate it in 90 degrees, and move it around and do it the same. And for the purpose of this, I'm just gonna move them. I'm not gonna make it 16 inches on center. You guys know that they should be 16 inches on center. We haven't gotten into roofs yet, but we'll get into it in a second. So maybe on this next class. All right, so that's that. All good. All right, so they enclose this thing. They just decided to enclose this thing and turn it into a space. And they put a jacuzzi on and they created an opening right here. And we need to do a header right above it, just like we did with this header, so that we can create an opening. Okay. Then they put their plywood pieces right on top of that. Not the plywood, but you guys know the sheathing, the zip system, and they cover this area right here. With the zip system right here, and they try to make it all weather tight. Now, I can bet you money I know the answer to this question. Felipe, does this particular existing space that they enclose have any insulation in it?
Are you asking me for the specific project?
This particular
Or
project that we're
this-
working on, does it have insulation, the existing space?
I'm not sure.
The answer is no. Okay. So it doesn't have any insulation because they did this. They were gonna make a deck. They ended up turning the deck into a porch. They ended up then turning the porch into a living space. Doesn't have any HVAC. Does it have any HVAC to cool it and heat it?
Mm,
I don't think so. I don't think you saw it, but I don't think so.
okay.
They enclosed this whole thing, turned it into exterior space. Then they came in here and built a skirting all around it because they didn't like how that looked. The skirting is something kind of like, I think I can make a fake version of the skirting right here. It's not that much because remember, it's just a little bit of the ground that you see. That's too thick. That's not what I want. Pipe, 1 inch. This is me trying to represent the skirting thing that they did. Hey, don't judge me. It's this thing right here. All right. So they try to cover that whole thing up right there. You could see a little bit of the sonotube, I think, here. Or something. But that's what they did, and it doesn't have any insulation whatsoever. All right. So it doesn't have any insulation at all in here. Let's just move this guy 1 inch. And now you're telling me, well, Darwin, this thing that's a deck that they did, now I'm going to put an addition in relationship to that. What do I do? Well, the first step is to understand that this is not proper already, and that there are things we need to probably fix so that this can work. The first thing is they're gonna have to put insulation inside these walls. So I want them to put insulation inside these walls. So all of these walls right here that are right now done, they may need to open. And if they can't open them because we don't want to demo the sheetrock, they're gonna need to do something called blown-in insulation. Blown-in insulation. How does that look? Well, kind of like that. And let me show you a little video of when that's being done. After this little commercial. Okay. All right.
Is your attic properly insulated? Chances are there's some air gaps that could be costing you money. The thing you need to look at value, you determine how much insulation you're going to need. You're going to multiply the length times the width of your attic to get the square footage. Good idea to wear a dust mat and a hard existing insulation across the joists is around a heater and fire hat. Cable gun.
I want blown-in. Hold on.
Begin farthest from the hatch, filling the area to the desired depth. Be careful not to spray the rafter vents. Now we still want to use our attic for storage, but since we're adding a second layer of insulation, we're going to have to raise the floor up. Now we're going to build a framework by screwing the hole and then put our sheet of plywood on top, insulated over the hose to direct the insulation down. If your attic
So that's how they do it. They blow it in. They blow insulation into existing walls. They do it to existing walls as well. You don't even see it well. So let's take a look at this.
In this video, we are the wall because the recycled newspaper. They absolutely do
So
not
instead
use
of demoing the entire wall, they do this.
This worker is on the business end of the machine, and you'll notice draped over his shoulder is the control. Trying to holding your hand over one or stopping it with some batting goes a long way to help. That goes through these pipes. They had to drill a few. I still found myself coughing.
V-trap, offset trap.
So that's that. So they will do that. They likely will do that because this thing is going to become a conditioned space right now. And the addition is going to become a conditioned space. Remember, this is what we're dealing with right here. This right here is that space. And then they're going to do a conditioned space right above it. So we have to make sure that that space is properly done. Like this area right here is properly done. Okay. So this connector right here in the family room, this wall's new, so that's great. That's gonna be insulated, but these other walls need to be insulated, and these other walls need to be insulated. So blown-in insulation will likely need to be added. I'm not gonna represent it as blown-in, like as I can't really model that right now. But what I want to show is that insulation needs to go in here. So I'm gonna just literally draw a little thin. Extrude this way, invert close. And I'm gonna make that thing pink. And you guys know that there's gonna be insulation in there. So that needs to happen through all of these things. And since this wall is going to be new, so anyway, this wall is likely going to have insulation anyway, okay? So that's going to happen there. It's also going to happen in here. Then when you're going to connect these guys, so this guy has a step down. I mean, you're going to see it in a second when I create an opening. Remember how we create openings with a header? So one thing I could do to make this exercise a little bit more interesting, I don't have a foundation on this side, but I could actually model it on this side so you can see it. But long story short, so you have this piece right here. This thing has a roof. We haven't gotten into roofs yet, but it will have a roof. Then it's gonna have gypsum wall board too. It's gonna be finished right around it. You're now gonna be doing a frost foundation right here as an addition. So you're like, whoa, what do I do? That's an interesting point. So here's what I'm gonna do so that I can make this work faster. Okay. So this piece right here, we're gonna try to attach to it. So there's a couple of things we can do. I really don't know why we want to save this existing space. So the client's going to want to save this existing space as much as they can, but it's going to be useless. Likely it's going to have to be demo and framed all over again. Okay. So that's one thing I want you to know, because look how difficult it is to add a foundation all around this thing and try to tie it all together. Contractors are not going to like that. They're going to be like, what the heck am I trying to save this thing for? Okay. So let me just quickly just use a reference point. And I'm going to draw, I'm going to assume like an addition right here that looks, let me see how the addition looks like in here. All right. So it's aligned with the back and aligned with the right. Okay. So it's going to do something like that. Okay. So that's your addition right there. I'm gonna do a sweep. And this is the rail. Okay, sweep. This is the rail. Sweep. 1. That's the rail. And that's the section. And go. Beautiful. All right, so we have our foundation here. I wish we can build them that fast. Okay, so that's your foundation there. And like, you're like, wait a minute, so are you gonna do a foundation here too? Well, likely, because you don't want to be adding this addition to this thing that we don't know if it could support an entire roof, right? So, I mean, I'm telling you, this contractor is gonna be like, you know what? Screw that, I'm demoing this thing. And they're just gonna say bye-bye. And they're gonna try to support this piece that's existing the same way that we're supporting it on this side, but from this one right here, likely putting a ledger right around here and supporting it to that. And then they're gonna build everything that we already know. They're gonna have to do this filler with this top plate, all of these things that we already know. They're gonna literally have to do it right here and right here and right here and right here. Right here, but they're gonna do it right around here.
Darwin, I have a question.
Just 1 second. Let me just do this real quick. You see, that's what they're gonna do. And they're gonna try to attach this guy to this guy, and then they're gonna, they're gonna go around the entire thing. I'll go right ahead, Felipe.
Well, at the beginning, I thought that it was possible to build the new addition with sonotubes. Is it?
It is possible to do the new addition with sonotubes. Yes, it is. That's not a problem. Now, however, the reason why I'm confused with what you're showing me, the reason why I did this foundation like this is because I see that you have on the framing plan an actual foundation wall right here. So, and I see a foundation wall right here too, which is not representative to the reality. That thing is sitting on sonotubes. So it is possible to do your entire addition on sonotubes. That is fine. You're gonna need many of them, not just like 4. You may need more, and you're gonna need to calculate them. Okay, you're gonna need to calculate them. So,
But which one? What is the best option?
the best option to me would be a frost wall, meaning this guy. By the way, this guy is actually overkill. This guy doesn't need to be that deep. This guy, I mean, that's a full foundation, that's a full basement, but this guy needs to be a frost wall. It's something like that. Okay. It's just 4 feet down. Okay, it's not that deep, it's not that expensive, it's not that difficult. Okay.
And
So,
my last question, Darwin. Well, the jacuzzi space, we know it was made with sonotubes. Is it easier to build an addition because of sonotubes in the jacuzzi area? I don't know if it makes sense, but
you're saying because this thing has sonotubes, why don't we build this whole thing also out of sonotubes so that it all is compatible? Is that what you're trying to say?
yeah, that was my first thought. I don't know if it was even
I think so. I don't have a reason why you wouldn't do it out of sonotubes right this second. I can't think of it. But it all depends. Like, I get this question a lot, by the way. Aesthetically, it looks better to have a concrete. Structurally, it's better for longevity. It's better for a lot of reasons. It's better. But I wanted to tell you real quick another thing before I go too far. Remember that this guy was built out of these members right here. This guy right here also doesn't have insulation, and it needs to be R30 at the very least. So they're gonna need to put insulation inside these cavities right here. So I mean, at that point, putting blonding insulation here, putting blonding insulation here, putting blonding insulation here. Well, this one is actually not going to be blonding. It's going to be new. I mean, it's so much work. I'd rather they actually just build the whole thing new. So that's one thing I would want to suggest the client. But I know budget is an issue, so they think they're saving money. So you can just suggest I think it may be a good idea to demo this thing and do it all new. So that's one thing. The other thing is, to answer your point, yes, this whole addition could be made out of sonotubes. It's actually not. It's actually common to do, living spaces on sonotubes. Like home addition on sonotube. Right. So it's good that look. This is it. It's gonna show you how they pour it.
Business is here.
Okay.
With Wix, you get advanced AI capabilities.
Good afternoon, everybody. Today we are starting.
Yeah, I don't want to hear him, so I'm just gonna move forward. So this is exactly what we're talking about. Look, they have this thing. This one has concrete, so that's not bad. That's an existing building. They're gonna do an addition to that. So in the addition, they use by the way, I think you saw it, some ropes, like to show how long the addition is gonna go, and they pin it. You see the corner there? They pin it. Then they go forward. They mark where they're gonna go. This is better than what I can do. This is like your grid, your column grid on your drawings. Okay. They dig out. Of course, we have some commercial break. They dig out, put their holes, and then insert their sonotube, which is something they sell at Home Depot. And the mix is already, they sell it. This is the hole right there. Very nice. That's so that we know the dimensions of it. We keep it sturdy, doesn't move. Beautiful. They need rebar inside it for compressive and tensile strength together. Concrete's very good at compression, but it's very bad at tension. So that's why we put rebar. And here we go to this. That's a very nice strong mix that they sell at Home Depot, and it comes pretty much ready. You just put water on it and you create that. That's your sonotube there. And they put 2x6s because remember that it has to be minimum 6 inches away. Okay, so they did that for rebar complete, cutting the rebar. I want to see this whole video. Did they do the whole addition though? I want to see the whole video of the home addition. Well, you get the point. It is doable. No big deal.
To Janie.
It is all doable. They literally build the whole thing and sonotubes and that's fine. It's all doable. All right, so I don't want to spend too much time. So that's an option. You just have to make sure you're sizing it properly for it. We've done it before. We've done it before in a couple of situations. Maybe the best option in this case. But the rest of this is the same thing as what I just already have been teaching you for this time. Literally, these guys get set right on top of this. Let me look at this. Same way. Okay? You got all your band joists, and you go 16 inches on center, and so forth and so on. This whole thing is exactly the same way. Nothing changes. The platform in which you're building it is what's going to change, but the idea is pretty much the same. If it is made out of sonotubes, the rim and band joists likely are going to be thicker so that you can support this framing. I did it this way right now because it's the short way. We want to always do the short way. Okay. Let me just grab these guys. And you can just rotate this guy 180 degrees. And ta-da! Right here we have it. This guy needs to be solid point on. We're gonna move those guys to be connected essentially to this. And you go. That's the same idea. What the framing itself is gonna change depending on whether you use sonotubes on this or not. So if you do sonotubes, I will probably, I don't know, these guys will be thicker, like I mentioned to you, the rim joist and band joist, so that we can connect. We will likely, I may frame it differently. Maybe I'll put a beam in here, one in the middle, and then another beam in here, and then one in the middle, one in the middle, one in the corner, one in the middle, one in the middle. You might end up with more of those. So I could show you what that looks like. For this video, I just wanted to kind of show how I would approach an addition being done to an existing deck addition, basically. This likely was a deck, okay? And they enclosed it and put a roof on it. And then they covered it. So that's that. And that's likely how I would approach it. Likely this guy would probably end up being demo altogether, okay? And I'm gonna create a layer to save these guys in so that we don't get them all mixed up, because we're gonna continue with the rest of this project. We're gonna start doing roof framing, attic framing, and things like that. I hope this answered all your questions. Like, share, and subscribe, and see you on the next one.